Thank you. Good morning and welcome all councillors and members of the public to the latest meeting of the North Northamptonshire Executive, including all those watching the meeting via the live stream on YouTube. Members are reminded to keep your microphones muted unless invited to speak. Anyone wishing to film any aspect of this meeting is invited to film from the table set aside for that purpose. Can I ask anyone choosing to film the meeting that their camera covers the entire meeting rather than any individual councillors? Should I be of the view that any actions relating to filming of the meeting amount to disorderly conduct, I will advise you accordingly. If such actions continue, I will consider applying Meeting Procedure Rule 39.3 and adjourn the meeting and ask the individual concerned to leave. I hope this will not be necessary and invite you to record focusing your camera on the entire meeting. Thank you. Agenda item 1, apologies for absence. Are there any apologies for absence?
Thank you very much, Chair. So we've got apologies from the Leader of the Council, Councillor Jason Smithers, and also Councillor Mark Rowley. Apologies from Jane Bethea and David Watts as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So moving on to agenda item 2, minutes of the meeting held on the 12th of September 2024. The minutes of the meeting held on the 12th of September are set out on pages 5 to 24 of the agenda pack. Are there any comments in respect of their accuracy? No, thank you very much. Please may I have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes. Thank you, Councillor Mercer moving, Councillor Edwards seconding. Approval of the minutes has been moved and seconded. Please may I see a show of hands in favour?
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much. They have been approved. Moving on to agenda item 3, members' declarations of interest. Are there any declarations of interest from members? No? Lovely. Thank you very much. Agenda item 4, that's notification of requests to address the meeting. So I can confirm that we've received requests to address the meeting in relation to the following. Agenda item 5, Councillor Lee, Councillor Anslow and Councillor Lynn Buckingham. Item number 6, Councillor Lee. Item 8, Councillor Anslow and Councillor Buckingham. Item number 9, Councillor Anslow. Item 11, Councillor Anslow and Councillor Lynn Buckingham. There are no further...
Nothing else, Chair.
Thank you very much. So moving on now, agenda item 5, Northamptonshire Safeguarding Children Partnership Annual Report 23-24. So I'd like to invite Councillor Anne Lee to address the meeting. Councillor Lee, you have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak.
Thank you. When I speak with organisations that work directly with vulnerable children, such as Home Start in Kettering, a charity that Councillor Edwards knows well and supports, a common concern arises. The bar for MASH referrals to be acted on is too high, and there is too much of a delay for any referrals to be acted on. Professionals, those on the front lines, are reporting cases of children at serious risk, but often these cases are not acted on immediately. I won't go into specific cases, but there was an instance where action was taken only in a very serious case of several children being severely neglected, and it was only acted on after 6 referrals being made. Similarly, a primary school teacher in Wellingborough shared the same concern with me unprompted, stating that it can take months before referrals are addressed. These are referrals made by professionals in schools and organisations, not ones that can be dismissed as part of family disputes or spurious concerns. So in Appendix 3 on page 68, we see a section dedicated to the lessons learned from safeguarding practice reviews. These reviews examine serious cases where something went wrong and a child suffered significant harm. Unfortunately, these lessons are being learned in retrospect after the damage has already been done. And if we look at the figures on page 68, we see that out of 51,000 referrals, only 9,000 were acted on. and that is 1,000 fewer than in 22-23. Is this because fewer referrals were made, or are we raising the threshold for action? It's something that we need to question. So in light of this, I would urge an amendment to the current recommendation. We must increase vigilance and respond more swiftly to referrals, especially those coming from professionals. Let us ensure that we are doing all we can to prevent harm before it becomes irreversible. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. Next, I would like to invite Councillor Valerie Anslow to address the meeting. Councillor Anslow, you also have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak.
Good morning. Point 2.3 in the report says that coordination of the partners ensures effective working for young people and families. And 4.2, the purpose of the partnership is to support and enable excellent practice. Learning is promoted and the public feel confident. It has a child-centred approach and early help is identified. All of this is good news and to be expected. In the report itself, it's good to see that there's a designated social care officer appointed to the Children's Trust. But on page 54, we see the data that shows a growing trend to elective home education. 1,051 children in North Northants, which is above the national average, and an increase of 247 on last year. Parents have the right to withdraw their children from school, but when parents are choosing elective home education, as the report says, because of dissatisfaction with the school and their mental health, I would ask that this is investigated further. We, this council, have a duty in the 1996 Education Act to make arrangements for the provision of suitable education for at school or otherwise for school-aged children, excluded, illness or otherwise. I would ask that it is investigated as to how many of these 1,051 children are SEND, and how many of the parents have felt withdrawing their child from school is the only option, as their needs are not being met, or in cases I've heard from residents, the school have said they can no longer meet their needs, or, so that the child isn't excluded, that they deregister. I know this report is a safeguarding report, but this is a safeguarding matter for the parents and children to leave a school as the environment is not a safe place for them. That's why they choose to leave. These children are at risk of being bullied, have sensory overload and heightened anxiety. That's why they leave. It is our responsibility to look into this growing trend of home education and not just publish the figures and then look away. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Anslow. I'd now like to invite Councillor Lynn Buckingham to address the meeting. Councillor Buckingham, you also have 3 minutes.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. And just want to wish you all well today on Mental Health Awareness Day. My issues on the report, and the report does bring out a lot of issues, a lot of things that they want to happen in the future. And one of the biggest issues for me is around family hubs and the length of time it's taken for those family hubs to come online. Wellingborough was the first one to go online about 14 months ago. Kettering's just gone online on September. Corby and East Northants won't go online until next year. We're advocating early help and support for everybody, but how can we do that if we're not getting those family hubs in place, building on what's already there, like the excellent Pen Green Centre, who's got everything set up. Why aren't we doing something quicker and better? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Buckingham. And I'm sure the executive member will answer some of those questions now. So moving on, I would now like to invite Councillor Scott Edwards, Executive Member for Children, Families, Education and Skills, to introduce the report. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the three speakers, and I will answer to their questions. So, absolutely admire all the work that Home Start does in Kettering and in other areas as well, and they are a great bunch of people. And I would agree with you about the MASH referrals. I think that they are too high, and you will have seen an increase. Now, this is down to sometimes the same family or the same child being reported more than once. So for the same incident, it could have 3 or 4 different people referring it to the MASH, which is why it's going up in numbers. Nevertheless, there has been a huge overhaul of the MASH system within the Children's Trust to look at the thresholds. We've had peer reviews, the Children's Trust have had peer reviews come in to look at the thresholds. Are they too high? What can we do more about it? How can we divide the referrals that come through? Because not all those referrals are about neglect for children or concerns about children. Some of those are to do with funding. Some of those are to do with the cost of living and not necessarily the neglect on the child. So they kind of drift off then to separate areas, as opposed to, so one area being safeguarding of the children and the other being support for the families. But they all come into one area. So we're looking at dividing that. But absolutely, I would agree with you that there has been some issues with MASH, and that is absolutely being worked on. Councillor Anslow, elective home education. Absolutely. So we are one of the highest in the country in Northants, and you'll be pleased to know that since Cherise started with us 3 weeks ago, that is her number one agenda point, and has already launched a deep dive within that. We have also already had all children with EHCPs that are home educated have or will have a home visit by the end of this week. So they will have had that contact with the local authority within that. We will be looking at, through that deep dive and through future programmes, about why parents are choosing to home educate their children. And I'm sure some of the reasons you mentioned are absolutely correct, that they feel it's the best place for their child to be at home. Unfortunately, COVID started the home education increase, where parents decided that they didn't feel as though schools were the right place, and they felt safer for their child to be at home. And that has increased the numbers nationally to do with home education. But there is a slight blip in Northants, and that's why absolutely we are working on that now. And I know I spoke to you at the beginning of the meeting about catching up with Cherise, and I know that she'll be only too happy to talk you through what we are doing about that. Councillor Buckingham, family hubs. So, you're right, so there has been a slight delay with opening some family hubs, and some of this is to do with legal issues. Just to let you know that the Wellingborough Family Hub physical building is doing extremely well. The Kettering Family Hub physical building is doing extremely well too. But family hubs doesn't necessarily mean a physical building. So if you look at family hubs, we have a huge virtual part of it, and that has been used in Corby, that has been used in the old areas of East Northants, as well as Kettering and Wellingborough. And statistically, the number of people that use virtual apps as opposed to going to the physical building is higher, because these apps can be used 24/7. So if you've got a parent that needs help at 3 o'clock in the morning, or needs some advice at 3 o'clock in the morning because she's struggling with breastfeeding, for an example, she can log on to that app and she can get some advice and some help through that. The other two buildings will come, and they are coming. I think they are due early next year, certainly for Corby and the old East Northants. But work is still going on, and work is still continuing with those families, so they're not being left behind, that they are getting the help and support that they do need. Yeah, no, that's fine. So, safeguarding report. This report is a safeguarding annual report and outlines the achievements during this period. The 5 leads of the partnerships are North Northamptonshire Councils, the Children's Trust, West Northamptonshire Council, the Police and the Integrated Health Board. Councillor Lee, I forgot you, sorry, you wanted to make an amendment to the report. That's not possible, purely because the report is devised by 5 different organisations. So we cannot put an amendment to a report that is already published. So, recommend to make an amendment.
I think Councillor Lee was saying the recommendations on the paper for us to approve the report is recommending an amendment, but I
okay, no, sorry.
think that's
Thank you.
We can go.
We all share the responsibilities and aims of the board and expected to deliver the highest standards of service. We aim to have excellent practice in the north, partnerships, agencies are working together, early identification of new issues, learning and promoting is embedded, information is shared, the public can have confidence, and the priorities of the business plan are in neglect, exploitation and domestic abuse. We have seen the plans which are set out on page 28, and we as an authority currently give £31,046 towards the partnership. Throughout the report, you will see statistical data on the number of contacts, referrals and assessments, and you'll see that there has been an increase in the number of contacts over the years. Family Hubs in North Northants continues to be a great asset and support, along with a digital front door. 2 hubs, Kettering and Wellingborough, have launched, and 2 more due to be shortly. Neglect remains a priority, and more training has been undertaken to look and understand how we can address this. And other campaigns, such as the Safe Sleeping campaign, have helped with this. In relation to child exploitation, a child exploitation hub has been developed, and as at early stages, this is based in Northampton, and it's proving to be a success. There are plans to further open more of these. More work with adolescent peers was being created and surplused. If you've not watched the video that is on there from YouTube, I suggest you do watch it about being exploited. It's a powerful tool that can be used for you and for other members. Domestic abuse continues to rise in North Northants and remains a top priority. More training has been effective to understand and to detect earlier. The Integrated Care Board have this on the focus of their 3 annual visits to providers. I would urge you all to read the report as it contains a lot of information and data, and safeguarding is also everybody's responsibility. If you see anything, report it, no matter if you're unsure. I move to the recommendations on page 26.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards, and for the comprehensive responses to the members in the audience, so thank you. I would now like to invite member debate from the floor. Can I see anyone? Councillor Brackenbury. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair, and good morning, everybody. I haven't much to say except to congratulate everybody who's contributed to this safeguarding report. I mean, it involves so many agencies and it covers so many areas of potential neglect or abuse or harm. And I just think that it reflects a lot of credit on all the people who are working so hard to minimise and address these issues. And what you've just said, Councillor Edwards, about, safeguarding being everyone's issue and something that everybody should be aware of, I think resonates very strongly. So congratulations to you and your team and all the other agencies involved.
Thank you, Councillor Brackenbury. Is there anybody else who would like to speak on this paper? No? Okay. Thank you. I've had a mover from Councillor Edwards. That is just, the recommendation is to receive and note the findings. So we are just looking at receiving the report, which is, as Councillor Edwards already highlighted, that this report has been produced in conjunction with a number of different organisations. So, we're unable to make any changes to that. So we have a mover, so thank you. I'm looking for a seconder, so I'll go with Councillor Brackenbury, as you spoke. Thank you. The recommendations are set on page 26 of the agenda pack. They've been moved and seconded. Please may I see a show of hands in favour?
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much. So moving on to agenda item 6, Air Quality Supplementary Planning Document for North Northamptonshire. So I'd like to invite Councillor Anne Lee to address the meeting. Councillor Lee, you have 3 minutes as usual.
Thank you, Chair. I support the adoption of the Air Quality Supplementary Planning Document as recommended in this report. The detailed and thorough work done by our officers deserves recognition, and I fully endorse the recommendations put forth in this report. Air pollution is a significant public health issue, and we can no longer afford to ignore its impacts. Harmful pollutants in the air contribute to severe health conditions such as refractory asthma, which does not respond to standard treatment, and coronary diseases. At present, North Northampton Council measures nitrogen dioxide, a major pollutant. By adopting this document today, we will also begin monitoring particulate matter, another key pollutant. This is a crucial step forward in safeguarding public health, particularly as we face in this county increasing industrial and residential development across our rapidly growing county. With construction work on the rise and heavy goods vehicles contributing to pollution, we need to take a proactive approach in mitigating the dust and emissions that threaten our air quality, which is set out in the documents. However, I must ask, how will these measures be enforced, these excellent measures set out in the document? Will there be active supervision of contractors to ensure compliance? Or will this simply serve as guidance for developers? So clarification on that point would be most welcome, as it is critical to have robust enforcement mechanisms in place. It is equally important that we consistently review the locations where air quality measurements are taken. As traffic increases and more areas experience heavy goods vehicle use, particularly around the industrial sites, we must ensure our monitoring is keeping pace with these changes. I hope the review process will remain dynamic and responsive to those evolving conditions. In conclusion, adopting this document will significantly enhance our ability to monitor and improve air quality, protecting both the environment and public health. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lee. So I would now like to invite Councillor David Brackenbury, Executive Member for Growth and Regeneration, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And Councillor Lee, thank you very much indeed for your supportive and constructive comments. You're entirely right that nitrogen dioxide and particulate matter are a serious health or potential serious health hazard. We are absolutely, this is not just a document for the benefit of developers, even though it is in fact a supplementary planning document. So it is indeed for the benefit of developers, but it takes a wider stance than that. What we are going to be doing with this whole approach to monitoring air quality is to react to growth and to development. So, of course, the current monitoring sites will be kept under review, and as there is further growth in North Northamptonshire, then the monitoring of that growth will also be included in the package. So, Councillor Lee, thank you very much for your, as I say, constructive and helpful comments. Madam Chair, turning to the report itself, this is, as I referred to above, this is a supplementary planning document which enables North Northamptonshire Council to keep a close eye on air quality. I am quite pleased to point out that at this moment, air quality in North Northamptonshire is not considered to be of a standard which would require further action. There are opportunities for further action, and a local air management area, air quality management area, could be set up if air quality was deemed to have deteriorated in a particular area. There have been air quality management areas set up in neighbouring authority areas, and particularly in Northampton. So this policy does in fact have some potential teeth. But of course, nothing in this paper is complete without correct and proper monitoring. So we do monitor our air quality, and at 5.2 in the report, you will be able to see a full summary of the monitoring results for 2023, and of course in 2024 we are still carrying on that work. As a supplementary planning document, this strategy will form part of the planning and development suite of documents that developers will have to pay in mind with any proposals that they have for individual sites or individual development. So as a supplementary planning document, it does carry some weight in planning terms, and of course all the other planning documents which members are very familiar with will also be part of that suite of documentation. The strategy, as you see it, has gone through scrutiny. It has been internally and externally consulted upon. It has been considered by the Sustainable Communities Executive Advisory Panel on the 29th of November, and all members were in favour of the document. So at this point, Madam Chair, I'd just like to thank everybody, both the team who put this together, and of course all the consultees and all the members who have had input into this process. And with that, Madam Chairman, I propose the recommendations at 3.1 for the reasons set out in 3.2.
Thank you, Councillor Brackenbury. So I would now like to invite a member debate from the floor. Can I see anybody? So, Councillor Pentland.
Thank you, Chair. I'm very supportive of this paper coming forward and the actions in it. Air quality is of the utmost seriousness, and it's a matter that we've discussed extensively as a council, both as part of the executive committee but also the Sustainable Communities EAP, where we've looked at it in depth on a regular basis. So very happy to support this alongside the other work that the council's doing. We had the local air quality strategy back in July that we as an executive approved, and this serves to bolster that, I'm sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pentland. Is there anybody? Councillor Mercer.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I also welcome this. It's an excellent document, a lot of work has gone into it, so I do commend the officers for this piece of work. It's so important that we get this right. If we can get the air quality from during construction and when the developments come along right, then we've set ourselves up for future good health rather than building in places that the air quality will affect our health. So I'm really pleased that we're doing this supplementary planning document to protect our community for the future.
Thank you, Councillor Mercer. Is there anybody else? No? No, it's absolutely right, isn't it? And personally, I'm delighted that we in Northamptonshire at this moment in time don't have a problem with the quality of our air, and let's hope that that remains. And with this monitoring and keeping on top of it, it sets us very well for the future, I think. Thank you. So I've had a mover, Councillor Brackenbury, and now I presume Councillor Pentland, you'd like to second this paper? Yeah, thank you. So the recommendations are set out on page 77 of the agenda pack. They've been moved and seconded. Please may I see a show of hands in favour?
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. Agenda item 7, which was the Environmental Crime Offences 2023 Fixed Penalty Fines update, has been deferred, so we will move swiftly on. to the next item, which is agenda item 8, update on the recommissioning of public health services. And I'd like to invite Councillor Valerie Anslow to address the meeting. Councillor Anslow, 3 minutes again.
I welcome this report with its recommendations to be consistent in naming streets and reflecting... Sorry,
that item's been...
sorry. No.
You're on the wrong item. Sorry.
Am I?
Yes,
on 8?
This is update on the recommissioning of public health.
Oh, sorry.
Services.
I decided not to speak on that one.
Okay. Thank you very much. Not a problem. Thank you. Next on the list is Councillor Lynn Buckingham. You have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I did put down to speak on this item, and I do welcome the report as put out and the work that obviously has gone into this document. However, having a document like this is only the start of something. You know, it's making sure that our young people do have the services they need, especially now when you've got still cost of living crisis, still getting lots of inequalities happening because of malnutrition, oral health, not being able to see a doctor. But the one that I find that is missing here on this Mental Health Awareness Day is those issues around mental health and how we need to get on top of it. So my plea is to think about what we need to do about mental health in young people. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Buckingham. I'd now like to invite Councillor Jill Mercer, the Executive Member for Adults, Health and Wellbeing, to introduce the report.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Buckingham, for your comments. The mental health of our young people, and indeed of everybody, is of utmost importance to us. As far as this report goes, there are some items in it that affect mental health. That is the REACH in particular, the counselling services, which there are lots of different agencies involved with that, and they are predominantly helping our young people. There's also the Strong Start as well that must have an element of that in it. So it is one of our 5 priorities in the Health and Wellbeing Board strategy. I'm losing my voice. It is a vital part of that. So if you are interested, the Health and Wellbeing Board is going through each of the priorities. That's one still to come, the mental health. But it's not just a document on paper. It's an actual doing strategy where we are implementing as we go along. So I'd encourage you to keep an eye on that and what's happening with that. Okay. So to the report, back in January, a decision was made to disaggregate these public health contracts, and in February we agreed to give delegated powers to myself, Executive Member for Adults, Health and Wellbeing, to agree the models for delivery for these public health contracts, and this has been done. This report is now going one stage further, asking for delegated authority for the actual contracts. At 2.1, you'll see the list of these contracts, quite extensive, and at 2.3, the engagement and investigation that's been done to check out the market. And in particular, you'll see at 2.4, Table 1, the models that have been chosen. For most of the services, you'll see it's been decided that an external supplier would be the best option, so going out to tender for them. But the Strong Start, it's been decided that would be better brought in-house under the family hubs. And I referred to Councillor Buckingham's as talking about it earlier on. The family hubs are absolute excellent setup. We'll be working with HR and legal and finance to facilitate the move over to the family hubs. Those that are going out to tender will have a start date of April 25, and it's expected these contracts will be awarded in December 24. 525,000 has been identified to increase the spend to 8.5 million in 24-25 and 9 million in 25-26. The 2 oral health contracts are part funded by the ICB. So these contracts have also been discussed with the Executive Member for Children's, and it's also been to health scrutiny. But a further paper will be taken to health scrutiny when the commissioning process concludes. So the recommendations are at 3.1. The Executive is being asked to note the actions being taken and approve the delegation to the Director of Public Health in consultation with myself to take any further decisions required to make sure that these contracts can be in place by the 1st of April 2025.
Thank you, Councillor Mercer. So I'd now like to invite member debate from the floor. Can I see? No? Okay, it's pretty straightforward. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's fantastic that we're investing in these services again. Yeah. So and also bringing in the Sure Start and making use of our family hubs as well. Did you want to come back on that?
I was just saying, you know, if there's no other comments, I'd like to propose we accept this report.
Oh yes, thank you very much. Yes, so I have a proposer for the report. I'd like to call on a seconder, please, Councillor Howes. So the report, the recommendations are set out on page 167 and 168 of the agenda pack, and they've been moved and seconded. Please may I see a show of hands in favour?
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. Agenda item 9, Northamptonshire Street Naming and Numbering Policy, and I'd like to invite Councillor Anslow to address the meeting, and you have 3 minutes, Councillor Anslow.
Thank you. So, I do welcome this report with its recommendations. The recommendation to be consistent in naming streets and reflecting local, geographic, cultural or historic significance in an area. As North Northants is a growth area, with Wellingborough, for one example, having 3 urban extensions and factories converted into flats, we need this policy. So my first question is, was the policy discussed at an EAP or consulted upon? Just a question there, because it would have been nice to have been involved in the policy making. But I would also like to ask the Executive Member about the naming of unadopted roads and the responsibility we have for signage. As a teenager, I cycled along an unadopted road in Wellingborough with its stones and ruts and puddles. But the road was signposted, and that was Brick Hill Road. It was later surfaced, and today there's little fear of getting a puncture. Another road in the town is unadopted and still has no sign for over 9 years. 9 years living in that road without a sign. The name reflects the historical significance of the first black mayor of Wellingborough, Mike Prescott. Prescott Close is unsurfaced. The legal team are bogged down in puddles. No, they're bogged down in the legalities. And meanwhile, the residents continue to live in a road with no surface and high curbs. My questions are, when will the street get its name on a sign as other roads in North
Councillor Anslow, could you please refer to the actual paper
as
opposed to individual?
These are questions.
Yeah, as opposed to individual items. I'm sure you can discuss that with the member.
I will do, and I have done lots of times.
Thank you.
How many unadopted roads in North Northants are without signage, but with residents living in them? Or is Prescott Close a special case?
Thank you, Councillor Anslow. So I'd now like to invite Councillor David Brackenbury, Executive Member for Growth and Regeneration, to introduce the report.
Well, thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you for your comments, Councillor Anslow. In terms of the naming of unadopted roads, and they are named, by being unadopted, it is not at this time the responsibility of North Northamptonshire Council to put signage up until the road is adopted. And I know that there are sometimes anomalies, and sometimes roads can take a long time to get adopted. Here, I guess, the best way of dealing with the matter is to enter into a dialogue with the developers while they still have responsibility for their land. Not germane to the report, the state of that road, and yes, obviously that's something which, again, would have to be a dialogue with the developers concerned. And I do, of course, have sympathy with people trying to transit an unsatisfactory, unadopted road. So in terms of any individual issue you may have, obviously we can deal with it. As far as the naming of Prescott Close is concerned, there is no special case of any description. If it is still a matter for the developer to put the signage up. They are supposed to do so. For obvious reasons. The report has not actively been consulted upon. It doesn't require consultation. There are already 4 existing policies for street naming and numbering from the legacy authorities. So this is not completely breaking new ground. Were the Place and Economy Scrutiny panel, Scrutiny Committee, wishing to take that under their wing and scrutinise this paper, then they would be more than welcome to do so. Chair, returning now to the report, it is an amalgamation, as I've just observed, of the existing street naming and numbering policies that were held by the legacy authorities. There's pretty good logic that we should have a consistent, fair street naming and numbering policy, which makes life so much easier for residents, but also people, visitors to the area, and perhaps if it has to happen, also emergency services and utilities and so on and so forth. So it is important that we have a reasonably consistent and sensible street naming and numbering policy. I was contacted by Councillor Maxwell, who very much welcomes this report and was observing that she's been charging around villages in the former East Northamptonshire area where this policy wasn't applied since the 16th century, and it's very difficult to find places. And of course, I think many members who have been running around in their wards will agree that a sensible street naming and numbering policy is good. So what we have here, there are a number of criteria which you will see in the appendix, which give a fairly consistent approach to how streets are named, whether they can be named after people, and whether what the nomenclature could be. They don't like apostrophes. They don't. It would be unusual to name a street after somebody who's currently alive. So normally the policy suggests that somebody who's passed away and is of local significance and importance, that there a period of 20 years would normally elapse. But this policy has received quite a lot of interest from members. And I'm grateful to the members from all parties and all sides who have fed back into this discussion. A little bit of informal consultation, if you like. And so, unusually at these meetings, at the recommendation, we just want to put a little bit more potential for exceptions. So I'm just going to, oh dear, I beg your pardon, my computer's logged itself off. And it's, it would also help if I remember my password. But, yeah, thank you. There we are, we've got it. So, Madam Chair, I would like to move the recommendations at 3.1. When I find it. Yes, I'd like to move the recommendation at 3.1, and which sets out the street naming and numbering policy set out at Appendix A of the report. But with your indulgence, I'd like to propose an additional clause at 6.22 as per the attached, which states, and I quote, notwithstanding paragraphs 6.1 and 6.10 and 6.11, where it is thought exceptional circumstances may exist from time to time, the request to deviate from this policy must be submitted to and approved by the Executive Lead Member for Growth and Regeneration and the Executive Director for Place and Economy and the Leader of the Council. And that would give some flexibility for changes in certain circumstances, but otherwise the policy is as per the appendix. So with that amendment, Madam Chair, or with that addition, Madam Chair, I so move.
Thank you very much. Yes, it was recognised by members that there were exceptions to the rule, and I think it's right that we add in this extra piece to allow for those exceptions. So, yeah, thank you for bringing that forward, Councillor Brackenbury. I'd now like to invite member debate from the floor. Councillor Mercer.
Thank you. I welcome this report and getting some clarity on what is and isn't allowed, but I also support that addition that Councillor Brackenbury has added. There may sometimes be cases where there is an exception, and I think we just need to have a little bit of flexibility. I certainly know of roads that are named after somebody, and the first name and the surname are both used to make it a little bit more sort of connected to that person. And I know of other roads where the person may be deceased, but not by 20 years, that have been allowed in the past. So, you know, sometimes that might need a little bit of flexibility, and I think that's very worthwhile.
Thank you, Councillor Mercer. Anybody else? Sorry, Councillor House, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. It's very quick. I too agree that with that amendment, it does help the policy, because I think there's actually some merit in somebody being alive and having that recognition. So I think that it's a good thing that we have that option within the amendment that you suggested. And I look forward to Councillor Brackenbury bringing forward a policy about statues as well, Madam Chair.
Only the best marble.
Thank you very much. Okay, I can't see any further. So we have a mover. Thank you. Councillor House, did you wish to second that? Thank you very much. So the recommendations are set out on page 182 of the agenda pack. They've been moved and seconded. Please may I see a show of hands in favour.
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much. So moving swiftly on, agenda item 10, Enterprise Resource Planning System Cloud Hosting. And I would like to invite Councillor Lloyd Bundy, Executive Member for Finance and Transformation, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to provide the Executive with information and background regarding the proposal to procure a new cloud hosting service for our existing Enterprise Resource Planning System, known to us all as ERP. As members know, ERP is used extensively throughout the authority, allowing the management of day-to-day business activities such as general ledger accounting, human resources, payroll, accounts payable, accounts receivable and procurement. It is vital to the organisation's operations. The system is developed and supported by Unit 4 and shared between West Northants, Cambridgeshire, Milton Keynes and ourselves. In late 2023, Unit 4 announced that to all customers that the software will reach the end of support as of the 31st of December 2024, resulting in no support and maintenance being available from January 2025 unless a new commercial agreement is in place. And a prerequisite of this is that councils migrate to Unit 4's own cloud hosting solution. All 4 councils sharing this resource have expressed their concern to Unit 4, but also believe that there is no viable alternative but to enter into a new contract. West Northamptonshire Council will be the lead authority for the procurement and contract on behalf of itself, Cambridgeshire County Council, Milton Keynes City Council and North Northamptonshire Council under a shared services lead authority agreement. So a similar report is being brought to each of the other councils, and with that, Chair, I would like to propose the recommendations as set out in paragraph 3.
Thank you, Councillor Bundy. Right, now I would like to invite member debate from the floor. If anybody would like to discuss this, so this is quite straightforward. I think we are where we are with this one. We need the service to run, so it's a given, really. I think so. I'll take it that you. Yes, if we want all of our staff to get paid, yes, absolutely. So, Councillor Bundy, you've moved the paper. I'm looking for a seconder, please. Councillor Brackenbury, thank you very much. The recommendations are set out on page 210 of the agenda pack. They have been moved and seconded. Please may I see a show of hands in favour?
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. Right, so I'm going back a page. Moving on. Agenda item 11, the Local Government and Social Care Ombudsman Annual Report. And I'd like to invite Councillor Valerie Anslow to address the meeting, and the usual 3 minutes, Councillor Anslow. Okay.
This report is not one we should, as a council, be proud of, because despite the hard work of our officers and employees, the number of complaints to the Ombudsman has increased from 64 last year to 101 this year, and the number upheld has also increased from 12 to 17. The LGSCO chair recognises the pressures we, as a council, are under, and the pressures are felt by our workforce. So I'm not laying the blame on them. Lack of resources over 14 years of the last government, with its mantra of austerity and cuts, has got us to this point, as well as the mismanagement of the finances of NCC. So the numbers of complaints upheld is not to be surprised at. 73% of complaint response were late. And when LGSCO made recommendations in 15 cases, these were slow in being acted upon. I want to apologise in particular to those parents of children with SEND, whose only recourse was to complain about the inadequate support their children get, the missed schooling and the opportunities, the stress of getting this council to recognise their particular needs. And it's not true that all children who are electively home educated have EHCPs. Most of them, a lot of them won't have, which is why their parents remove them. Their needs are not recognised. £23,700 has been paid out to those families, and still we bury our heads and dismiss parents who withdraw their children from school and have no option but to home educate. I say again, it's not our hard-working employees and school staff. It's the lack of robust and clear processes for identifying need that force the parents to make a complaint to the Ombudsman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Anslow. I'd now like to invite Councillor Lynn Buckingham to address the meeting. 3 minutes, Councillor Buckingham.
Thank you very much, and I echo the sentiments that my colleague has said today, especially around education and children's services. A lot of these cases don't actually get to the stage of going through the Ombudsman, and I think that we as a council need to understand how many of those don't, how many of those missed opportunities where people bang their heads because they're looking after children with needs, and they just have the fight taken out of them. So it's understanding how many actually cases don't make it to the Ombudsman where the children are still being failed. And I'd like to see, and I know that it's one of the action points, is that we learn from some of these cases. So I'd like to see at some other stage how we've learnt, because we don't get to see that very often. You know, we're presented with the letter and say we're going to do it, and we should be able to sort of have a reference back sometime just to see what learning has come out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Buckingham. So I'd now like to invite Councillor Lloyd Bundy, Executive Member for Finance and Transformation, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Chair. A lot of the valid points that have been raised by Councillors Anslow and Buckingham I will be referring to within what I'm going to say in a moment. I'm not going to rise to the bait of trying to make this report a political football, which sadly some people have decided to do today. The Local Government and Social Care Ombudsman, known and referred to as the LGSCO, makes decisions on complaints about councils and adult care providers in England. It looks at whether organisations are making the decisions in the right way. Their annual letter confirms that complaints about our organisation have been investigated and their independent outcomes. Section 2 of the report sets out the total cases that the Ombudsman investigated last year in relation to this council. There are 101 cases in 23-24, which is an increase from 64 the previous year. The table at section 2.2 shows an analysis by department of complaints made to the Ombudsman and the number upheld. Although this council should be concerned with any complaint made, either internally or to the Ombudsman, it should be noted that not every complaint has been upheld. The Ombudsman Chair was newly appointed in February 2024, and in reviewing the national picture from last year, made observations on the changes to the complaint handling code to aid support and service improvements and the financial challenges local authorities face. The Ombudsman noted a delay in response being received in a timely manner for information requests, citing that 73% of this council's responses were late. And whilst the Ombudsman welcomed that the council agreed to and implemented recommendations made in 15 cases, there was disappointment that over half of the cases were not completed within the agreed timescale. Section 5.10 summarises individual cases and the remedies agreed and provides a comparison with other similar authorities. Section 5.11 offers further detail of the 17 upheld decisions. Some have been redacted due to confidentiality. The letter from the Ombudsman can be found at Appendix C. Whilst it is disappointing to see similar themes to last year in the letter, the service has reviewed its policies and ways of working alongside the updated Ombudsman's complaint handling code, including the introduction of new remedy policy, which can be found at Appendices A and B. These will be launched this month and will be supported by a new digital case management system. The recommendation to note the contents of the recommendations of the Ombudsman annual review letter is at paragraph 3.1, and I'm happy to propose this. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Bundy. It is always very disappointing to see that we are not meeting the requirements of some of our most vulnerable students, but I think this is a lessons learned, and this is with introducing this new system that this will, hopefully, make sure that this is improved greatly. So thank you very much. So I would like to now invite member debate from the floor. Thank you, Councillor Edwards.
Thank you, Chair. I'm truly sorry for those children that have had to go to the Ombudsman. I really am, because I know the education team and the SEND team within Northampton are trying their hardest to get children's placements, to get EHCPs done in what is a really difficult time, and the sheer number of SEND students that we all know, we've all seen the graph where it's literally going like this, and the team is overwhelmed by the sheer amount of it. And the frustration then that comes from the children and from the parents or guardians, that their only option is to take it to an ombudsman. I can't say that word correctly, sorry. Shouldn't be the case. So we've looked at this as a team. We've put extra money into that team to work at it. We've put extra parent panels to actually talk to the parents and work with the parents to understand more the situation. You will know that, the past year we've increased the number of SEND places within mainstream schools with extra units. Still not enough. We still need more and more, and we are still working on that. And that, goes through different cases across the ages, from nursery age to senior school age and beyond. It's still not enough, but we are working on it. That plan is there to get every child that needs an EHCP or every child that needs specialist education has a place within that. So I am sorry that these complaints are higher. One complaint is too high. We are working on it. We are trying to get there, and then with support of the families and the children and our fantastic officers that do so much day in, day out. It's not a 9-to-5 job, it really isn't. The emails I get from the team, it can be 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm not saying, Adele, that that's right, but it's absolutely, they do, and they are doing an amazing job in such a tough situation. There is a plan there. We are working on it. We will get there.
Thank you, Councillor Edwards. You can hear the passion, obviously, and the sense of feeling that we are striving to be better. So thank you very much for that assurance. Thank you. Anybody else? Councillor Brackenby.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And absolutely, one complaint is too many. We are a large organisation. There's 350,000 people that live in this area. And, of course, I really welcome what you've said, Councillor Edwards, in your area, and the work that's going in. And, steps are being taken to minimise all manner of complaints in all service areas. I mean, there are a number in other areas too. And, we must learn lessons from all of these. Of course, there are many issues that never get to the Ombudsman, and this is a little bit the last resort. So it is when you have the figures here, 64 in 2022, 101 now, but the numbers that were actually upheld is a much lower percentage in 2023 than it was in 2022, which perhaps gives some reassurance, but it's not a time for complacency. And I'm pleased and I welcome the case management system, Councillor Bundy, that you were referring to, because I think that will materially help. I think so often when we have issues going wrong, it is because of the actual communications ability. And of course, with a proper case management system, with proper IT solutions, I think that will really help to minimise the number of complaints we receive. But I do welcome the letter from Mr. Sumal, the chair of the LGSO. He recognises that we are, that we have challenges, but are responding to those challenges, and we must just keep working as hard as we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brackenbury. Councillor Mercer.
Yeah, I'm sorry that they are more in the adults that have been lodged with the Ombudsman this year. Went up from 8 to 19, but the upheld only went up from 3 to 5. Now, as we said, one is too many, but this is against a backdrop of a huge increase in work. The number coming forward for adult social care is 25% up, and in light of that, most of the complaints are sort of a lack of information, communication, which is down to sort of time, and apologies have been made. But lessons are learnt from this, and there's a lot of work goes on in the department to deal with complaints and to look into them thoroughly and deal with them in a timely manner. So I'm sure that they will take on those particular cases lessons and put in process procedures to deal with these issues.
Thank you, Councillor Mercer. Can I see anybody? Councillor Binley, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Of course, I just echo all of the comments that have already been said, and of course I know that everybody is acutely aware of of course, not only these that have gone to the Ombudsman Service, but also those that sit as complaints within the internal complaints process within the council. And I think we're all very close to that as executive members and also the executive directors and so on and so forth. I think, Councillor Buckingham, your comment about it's about lessons learned, absolutely right. And anybody that's worked in customer services will know that to not necessarily look negatively at a complaint, but to look at it as an opportunity. It's an opportunity to learn and to improve your processes and to go through that journey of continuous improvement. Of course, it is less desirable to have individuals have to go through that process to get there, because it's not something that you want the people that we serve to have to feel that they have to go through that. So, of course, we do have to take away lessons learned, and we are, and provide those assurances. Councillor Bundy said, of course, about the issue being politicised. And of course, yes, it is disappointing. Of course, it's always disappointing because I don't think we can blame it on 14 years of austerity coming from a political group that left us a note saying there is no money, and that are now more concerned with Taylor Swift tickets, etc. So, but of course, we shall see what comes from it. And I think it's unfair on our officers who are working really, really hard through some of these issues, because let's not forget, we're a new council. And, as a part of that, we've gone, the royal we, our officers have gone through a huge amount of work that I'm sure will come out of the review that we just recently had from that peer review, that our officers have been working really hard behind the scenes to, disaggregate services and to harmonise those services. And, of course, I think part of that is through this. It's that short-term pain that we're going through. I think it's got anything to do with the money. But we shall see what comes from the peer review. So with that, of course, Madam Chair, I'd just say it's disappointing to see that our residents have gone through that, but I know and I have every confidence that our officers are taking away lessons learned.
Thank you, Councillor Binley. So, okay, right, so Councillor Bundy, you move the paper. I'm looking for a seconder, please. Yeah, Councillor Binley. Thank you. I have a mover, I have a seconder. The recommendations are set out on page 222 of the agenda pack. They've been moved and seconded. Please may I see a show of hands in favour?
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much. So, moving on. Agenda item 12. So this is the Duddington with Fine Shade Neighbourhood Plan. And I'd like to invite Councillor David Brackenbury, Executive Member for Growth and Regeneration, to introduce the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. As with a number of communities up and down Northamptonshire, the community of Duddington with Fine Shade, which is a small, two small settlements in the north of Northamptonshire, my goodness, have got their neighbourhood plan together. This is a document which sets out that community's ideas for how its planning should be taken going forward and how its community's placemaking is set out. I've had a look at the document at the appendix, and it's a really good document. And I do commend anybody who's got an interest in local history and architecture to have a look at it. It's really quite interesting. Nevertheless, this plan was put forward. It's been subjected to inspection by the Planning Inspectorate, as all neighbourhood plans are, as part of its process. And that process has adjudged it to be sound. It was then, as part of the process, subjected to referendum, and of the residents, 60 voted in favour, 6 voted against on a 43-point-something% turnout, which is something which would do quite a number of local elections credit and that sort of numbers. So it's got a thumping democratic mandate, and the last stage in the process is that it comes to the executive here to be made. When or if the executive agrees to make this plan, it forms part of the statutory planning policy document suite, which does carry weight in planning terms. So obviously any development being proposed in that area, it would have to be in conformity with all the stuff that it has to be in conformity, in other words, national planning policy guidance, local plan, and the neighbourhood plan. So I'd just like to conclude, Madam Chair, again, and as I often do with these neighbourhood plans, with my congratulations to everybody in the community and all the various stakeholders have contributed. These documents really aren't easy to bring forward. They take a great deal of effort, and it reflects enormous credit on a community that they go to that trouble and that they come out with such a satisfactory document. So with that, I propose the recommendation at section 3, which is to formally make the plan, authorising the Executive Director of Place and Economy to publicise the decision, and delegates the authority to the Executive Director of Place and Economy to make any minor typographical or formatting amendments. And so that is my resolution, Chair, or my movement, Chair.
Thank you very much, Councillor Brackenbury. Yes, it's really good to see another neighbourhood plan coming forward, and as you said, you know, it takes an awful lot of work in the community to produce these and to get it through all the different stages that it has to go through. So, yeah, well done to everybody involved. So I'd now like to invite member debate from the floor, if anybody is interested. Councillor Howes.
Well, it's not really a debatable item for me. It's just, again, another great plan that's come through, and just an endorsement, really, for... There's lots and lots more in the process coming from town and parish councils, and for those that are considering it, it's something that I can't endorse enough, because it does significantly help protect areas within parish and town council areas and wards, And if you're thinking of doing it, please get on with it. It can be cost neutral. It isn't time neutral, but certainly the financial aspect of it can be covered with a grant. So I just endorse anyone else that is thinking of doing it to get on with it. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Councillor Edwards.
Very much like to echo Councillor Howes there, actually. Having been involved with the Kettering Headlands Area Action Plan, which went through last year, I think it was, I know the time and the effort actually that members of the community put into this and the real hard work, because they care about their areas and they care about what happens. And so fully supportive of this. And incidentally, Barton Seagrave is currently going through one, so we're out to consultation at the moment. I'm not involved with it, I'm just sitting back and watching it. So, but again, it's general members of the community paying an interest, doing their bit for the future, and so fully endorse it.
Thank you very much. I can't see anybody else, so I have a mover, Councillor Brackenbury. I'd like to call on a seconder, Councillor Howes. Thank you very much. The recommendations are set out on page 278 of the agenda pack. They've been moved and seconded. Please may I see a show of hands in favour?
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you. So agenda item 13. So this is the Wide Area Network and Internet Replacement Project. And I'd like to invite Councillor Lloyd Bundy, Executive Member for Finance and Transformation, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this report is to seek the approval for the Executive to consolidate our wide area estate using the existing EastEd partnership, which is already used by some of our estate and 9 of our neighbouring authorities and partners. Not only will it serve to standardise our security measures, enhancing data protection and regulatory compliance, and improve operational agility, it will also support our ambition to become one council. Entering into a full tendering and procurement process will not only be time-consuming, but expensive. Over the life of this contract, it is estimated that it will save this council nearly £600,000 against a forecast cost of nearly £1.75 million if we do nothing. And with that, Chair, I am happy to propose the recommendations of paragraph 3.
Thank you, Councillor Bundy. So I'd like to invite member debate from the floor if anybody has any comments. No? Okay, pretty straightforward, I think, this one. Oh, Councillor Mercer.
Yeah, it's pointed out in the report about the day centres and care homes at 2.7b. It is vital that we have good connectivity. There's so much more these days being done to help people keep in touch with their loved ones and use modern technology, that it is vital that we have really good services. So I support this.
Thank you. Yeah, Councillor Howes.
Yeah, just to say, I'm pleased to see this come forward. We've got a lot of stuff in this IT area that we want to see happen. Wide area networks are a very exciting thing, so I'm sure we're all going to be rather excited at the rollout. Yes, let's again get on with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, it obviously shows a lot of, it gives our residents a lot of access to a lot of different things and features throughout the whole of Northamptonshire. So I'm not seeing anybody else. Okay, fantastic. So thank you, Councillor Bundy. You've moved the paper. I'm looking for a seconder. Councillor Howes, thank you very much. So the recommendations are set out on page 367 of the agenda pack. They've been moved and seconded. Please may I see a show of hands in favour?
Unanimous, Chair.
Thank you very much. So urgent items of business. I can confirm that I've not received any request to consider any urgent items of business at this meeting. So that concludes the business of the agenda, and I thank those members, officers and the public who have been in attendance, including those who have watched online via our YouTube channel, and I now declare the meeting closed. Thank you.